Welcome back. We're coming to you live from Camp Phoenix in Kabul, Afghanistan. We arrived here on Sunday, then spent 2 nights and 2 days in Kandahar, where I spent a day with the general in charge of southern Afghanistan for the U.S. military, Brigadier General Ben Hodges. I also did an embed with U.S. troops in the 82nd Airborne. The idea of counterinsurgency is that you, well, counter the insurgency, right? You fight insurgents by killing and capturing them, sure, but you also try to create an environment in which the insurgency can't survive because the population doesn't want the insurgents to be running the show. They want their own government to be running the show. So that term nation building, that's become as much of an epithet in American politics as the word liberal, nation building, that's honestly what they're trying to do here, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Standing up government and law and order via the government so that no one in the population wants what the Taliban is offering. Here's one of the concrete problems with that on law and order. In Kandahar, the province of Kandahar has authorization to have 87 judges working in the justice system. 87. You want to know how many are actually on the job? 9 judges for a province of like 1 million people. So if you live in Kandahar and you want justice, the Taliban's frankly offering much quicker service than the government can provide. It is one of those weird facts. It's a weird fact, but it is one of the types of weird facts that is going to determine if Afghanistan falls into Taliban control again or not. Whether or not we win here, I guess is the word. When people talk about Kandahar, one of the things that we sort of say and don't detail really, at least in civilian news coverage of what's going on here, is what that means for Taliban governance. I mean, we know there's a shadow Taliban governor here, but are they doing dispute resolution? Are they doing, punishing people for theft? Are they? Yeah, there is a, if you think of the insurgency as an argument for the loyalty of the people between the Afghan government and the Taliban. The Taliban is not a popular uprising. I mean, they don't do anything. They haven't built a school. They don't fix irrigation systems. They don't do any of that. But they sure scare people. And they do dispute resolution very quickly. And they're not seen as corrupt. Yeah. So for an average farmer, he's trying to decide, is my life better with the government if I don't trust the government? If the face of the government is the police and they're taking money from me every time I go anywhere, it's not worth growing these wonderful pomegranates because I can't even get them into Pakistan to export. Is my life a whole lot worse with the Taliban? Right. If they're not corrupt, but they're brutal. Right. And that's the problem. They're quick. I mean, they do dispute resolution very fast, but it usually is, Sharia law. People get killed, physically punished, and of course, there's no human freedom. At times, the Taliban outlawed kite flying. So they're not popular, but the government has got to provide a better choice. Yeah. Otherwise, people are not going to take the risk. That's what it's about. I mean, if they're seen supporting the government, if they don't feel secure, the Taliban are going to come in that night and kill somebody or hurt them or wreck their house. But it's almost like that's the central thing that makes this feel almost impossible, because if the Taliban, when they took power in the 90s, it was here and in other places, it was in part by saying we're not going to be corrupt, we're religious, we're students, and the corruption of the government isn't serving you. We can serve you, we'll be brutal, but at least we'll be honest. If they're still offering that, and we're trying to make an Afghan government that is not corrupt to be a viable alternative to that, but our very presence, by virtue of the fact that we've got to spend a ton of money, and we're foreigners, and we've got to protect ourselves and all this stuff, our influence here, our presence here is inherently corrupting, just because a lot of money flows everywhere we go. It's like, it's not 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I don't think I buy that. I don't accept that we are inherently corrupting. I know what you're saying. There's certainly that much money coming in, the potential for that, and I have no doubt that some money has made it to the wrong people. But I've met enough Afghans who have demonstrated those kind of qualities, whether they're in the military, police, or government, who are brave, who take huge risks, and are committed to
having an Afghan society that respects its culture and traditions, and can provide some basic services. And the requirements are really relatively simple as you look around. But it really is up to the Afghans. I mean, we'll never have more capability than we've got this fall. So I think that the conditions are there for the Afghans to be able to take this opportunity. I've met enough to convince me that they can do it. And I'm also very confident that the pressure that we have applied to the Taliban leadership and the insurgent networks has really taken a toll on them too. You know, warfare is about willpower. The enemy has morale. The enemy has will. That's been eroded. There's plenty of indicators that suggest that, you know, they're tired of running every night. They're tired of worrying about every time, you know, they pop up, are they going to be killed or get rolled up? So there are enough indicators to tell me that this is very doable. I'm a very realistic optimist. You know, we've been here 9 years now, but the U.S. has been focused on this area in Kandahar really in a big way only in the last year and a half. So I have no illusions about what it's going to look like a year from now, but I see the possibility.
The people needed to provide policing, basic services, the kind of government jobs that you're talking about. Obviously, you need good, committed Afghan nationalists, essentially, to do that. You need people who want to do it for their country. People who are brave and willing to see that transition through. Who's going to pay their salaries in the long run?
Well, that's a great point. I think you know, Afghanistan does not have oil, but they certainly have incredible mineral wealth potential.
Incredible mineral wealth potential. Potential being the operative term there. We'll be talking more about that on tomorrow's show with NBC's Richard Engel.